Hey guys, welcome back to this series, how to use PoiZone, and this is going to be video number 4, and we're going to be talking about the oscillators. So basically all the way from the left here at balance, all the way to the right where it says Oscillator B. And we might think on first thought that there's two oscillators, but there's actually a third over here called the Noise Oscillator. So let's start over here from the left on the balance section. So this knob here is going to be the balance between A and B, so all the way to the left is just going to play oscillator A, and then over here to the right is just going to be oscillator B. So if we change the pitch to, let's see, an octave up, and then somewhere in the middle is kind of a blend of 50-50. And then you can kind of lean on one or lean on the other. And then next up we have the noise. So it can bring some real analog juice to it. So next up on the first oscillator, let's go to an init preset here. We have the option to have a pulse wave because by default it's going to be a saw wave, so we can see that from all the harmonics over here on the right and just how it sounds. So we can click here for pulse and we can choose the pulse width here. We can kind of see that here at the oscilloscope. So we have it really, really thin. Kind of all the way almost here to square wave-ish kind of style. So that's what that does. And then this also has ring modulation from Oscillator B. So if we turn this on here, we're not going to really notice something too big, but if we start changing this detune, that might be a little bit more noticeable if we activate the pulse, so it's kind of like an on-off kind of deal. And we can see how the oscillator B is affecting number A, or letter A, oscillator A, whatever. So it's something definitely cool to play around with. Let's bring this up just a little bit in case it's hard to hear. And then next up we have sync as well, so it's going to sync the oscillators, which gives it an interesting tone. So let's go back to reset program, and let's turn sync on. So it's generally going to be the same fundamental that you're playing, but it kind of gives the waveform a different characteristic. So if we have it here at the top, it's relatively in the same note area. But it definitely gives the tone a very interesting kind of style to it. So definitely play around with that one. And then next up for oscillator B, we have the same thing as we did with A with a pulse width. So let's listen to oscillator B. Let's change our tuning back to normal. And then we can change the width again as well. And then the standard pitch for oscillator B and the detune for oscillator B. And you might be wondering, well, why don't I have one for oscillator A? And you don't, that's true, but you do have your main transpose up here. So kind of imagine that oscillator A is going to be your driving force, which is probably why it's called A, so it's going to be your main one. And then maybe do some different changes with oscillator B, or you could even start backwards if that's a little bit easier for you, if you want to kind of start with oscillator B. So make sure to turn this all the way to the right if you start from a default preset, and then change the pitch and the detune accordingly, and then you can add in oscillator A if you want to do that, or if you don't want to do that. And there's also the noise too. And keep in mind, all these are automatable with automation clips as well. And then we're going to be talking about modulation soon and how that all works. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.